Welcome to Brother to Brother, the podcast where you'll find real life, real talk from real brothers. We're your hosts, Raymarr and Jamal Lewis. We created this podcast with the intention of providing a space for the development and transformative leadership through our and our audience's lived experiences, and about our relationship as brothers and all the trials and tribulations that we have been through in building our relationship to where it stands today. With these discussions, we also hope to help others identify any possible hidden or unrecognized trauma, just as we have. And we urge that one seeks professional assistance in processing and addressing such traumas. In this first episode, we would like to start from our beginning. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button, and feel free to drop a comment below. And make sure to connect with us on all social media platforms. So without further ado, welcome to Brother to Brother. Hello?
This is a Global Tel-Link prepaid call from
Jamal Lewis.
This call will be monitored and recorded.
Assalamu alaikum, man.
Walaikum salam.
How you, bro?
I'm good. I'm doing good and blessed this morning, bro. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, same. Feeling good, you know what I mean? Just happy for us to be finally starting our first episode of Brother to Brother, you know. Excited about getting into it.
That's what's up. Same here.
Well, yeah. So what I'm thinking is that because this is our first episode and people are unaware of who we are and what our purpose is with doing this podcast, with doing Brother to Brother, I'm thinking like we should tell them why we choose this platform, or why we would like to do a podcast. So for me, I'm thinking because there's a lot of valuable information out there that could be of great use to us, right?
Yeah.
It's not because the information's not being shared. I mean, in instances, a lot of this information is being shared. So it's more of a matter of translation. Is this information being translated in a manner that we find acceptable and respectable to us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, although it may not be intentional, the way the information is being packaged and delivered sometimes can come across as not being for us. In those cases, we are like less receptible to taking in information. It doesn't matter how valuable or significant it is to our life. So it's my goal to translate or deliver this type of information in a pack that's more relatable to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for you, what is your reasoning behind wanting to do this podcast?
My reason is pretty much, I wanted to bring the mental health aspect to it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something to me that is kind of close to me, because that's something I've been dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that, within our family, we've been dealing with it, because, the unrecognizable stuff, like, the trauma of the past and stuff. I just want to talk about those things. Like, me and you get on the phone, we had so much deep, good conversations that when you mentioned it about doing this, I was all in, because I said, you know what, I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? Because what we going through and what we've been through can help somebody else, and it can do it justice to what people might be going through in the same situation. That's my thing that I'm bringing to it. Like, I want to talk more about mental health. That's something that's kind of taboo that a lot of us don't talk about, especially in the black communities, and especially with black men. So now lately, it's been something that's been, coming up, popping up. People been more perceptive to talking about it, but it's still not really all the way there. People really still not diving in to really go deep into talking about it. You know what I'm saying? And as I get older, I start to recognize things that affected me from my past that's kind of stagnate me from giving my best and, being better today. And that's something that I want to tap into. So that's my reason for doing it,
Yeah. So, it does make perfect sense. That's why it ties into the same scenario, because it's those same situations or issues, like you said, that kept you stagnated or kept us as a community stagnated. That's why when I say us, I'm not just talking about anybody. I'm talking about people for the community in which we grew up in.
Yeah.
The first of those communities, being Dayton Street Project, and the people. Speaking of course, the like the bays, the hookers, and the Melvin.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to also mention this is the history that molded us and it continues to assist us in how we view and interact with the rest of the world. So being in that environment, like you just said, it's traumas that came from that, but it's also good that came from that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, like I always tell you, like we tend to, when we deal with these issues, we tend to deal with them in isolation, right?
Yeah.
So, or it's the same thing when with working and stuff, trying to change the circumstances in your life. You'll go to work or whatever, and you're coming out. You're only thinking about your household and your family, and then you're thinking about moving out of that situation. But these traumas didn't happen to us isolated. We got our isolated issues, but these trauma happened to us as a community. So you moving doesn't change that there's other people that's in trauma, and that it doesn't mean that that trauma is not going to follow you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So I get what you're saying. So that's what I'm saying. Translating the information in a way where we can all receive that is acceptable to all of us, because all of us is connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I want to prove how, or show how relevant it is to us by going back and making sure we include those people and letting them know that we didn't forget them and how they affected us, and being from that environment, which is pretty much painted as a negative environment, that we don't perceive it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the people that come from it, we don't perceive it that way, regardless of how society depicted. We got a real sense of community from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we grew up in there, it's more so me than you because I'm a little bit older. When
Yeah.
we grew up in that community, in the project, in the housing projects in North at this particular time, right? This is in the 70s when communities were communities.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? When everybody really looked it out. When those statements like, if your neighbor saw you doing something wrong, they didn't just call your parents, or they didn't even call your parents. They whooped your ass too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is that thing. When we went to store for people, we stopped what we was doing. We helped Miss Rodriguez across the street, stuff like that. This is that environment. Or, for instance, like us, the Bays, the Hookers, and the Melvins, we was more like a family. It was so close, like from the generation prior, our fathers and their mothers and sisters were best friends and stuff. Some of them are like our godparents and stuff. And then you had the other families like the Rodriguez, the people like Corey and them that you was dealing with, like the Williams and them. They was like our friends, the whole family. It was like no, so if this is the family that's like your family, and there's other groups of families like your friends, so it was like there was no distinction. It was just like everything was smooth all the way through. But at the same time, because it was such a level of comfort, we was exposed to different things in these environments, you know? So it's important for us in that aspect to talk about it, because I could say at that particular time is when I was most impressionable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way I understood life and how, like the way I hustle now, I can go all the way back to Dayton Street Project Building 3, Miss Ethel. I mean, she rented videos, wasn't no DVDs from Blockbusters, and she making copies of them and then renting them to us. The whole building, the whole project's much cheaper, and everybody knew. That was the first indication of hustling to me.
Yeah.
The candy lady in the building, the Spanish lady that sold candy, I sat at the door all day. Her, one of my best friends at the time then, Jamal Stevens, taking us all out to RGA, even though we was committing little wrongs, stealing candy and stuff like that, and then coming back and then selling it in the projects door to door. It was my first drive that taught me how to hustle. So now, just with the like I said, with the hustling where Jamal Stevens, taking us out the hillside, and we going to the IGA, stealing candy bars, bringing them back to the projects, and selling them door to door. And then mommy telling us, like, why would you sell candy? Sell something that everybody wanted. Then we switched over to cosmetics, and we really started making money. I bought my first pair of sneakers and stuff like that. And again, what led me to this part of my life, what we would consider more so the streets, like the gangster part. We got looking up and following behind, or seeing it, being close to it with Uncle JB, Wale and them, Wale Dawood and all them, and they crew, Red and all them, Wayne, all them people. You know what I'm saying? Chrissy Rodriguez, seeing that type of element, but still at the same time, it was just like those was like the big brothers. So it wasn't seen as a distinction between what they was doing, not being community and being genuine love, because they didn't directly expose me to this stuff. It's just that that's how we all was brought up. So nobody really understood to a degree that how wrong it was and how traumatic it was for us, because it was like basically normal for us because we lived in a cluster, being in this type of community. So the same thing came with the good with let's say with Kaz, Dawu, Kaz, they always been in relationships.
Yeah.
They even like with Kaz and TC mom, Denise, we used to be upon her. Like we know her from that. Like that's Kaz girl. Wally at the time with Donna. Like we like these are I mean Dawu with Dodie, like we knew these, like we always seen relationships, mommy and daddy, Cookie and Yaya. We seen these relationships, so that's the good that came out. They stayed together. They was married for multiple years, regardless of what they was going through. And then later on, once we went down south and all that, we still had that aspect. Then when we came back years later, that's when we started getting and we're feeling the cracks. More so when we left Dayton Street, went to Passion, Hayes home, then we get to Prince Street. At this particular time, you much older, and now you get to see.
Yeah.
Now it becomes more impressionable on you. What was that like for you? Like once we got there?
At that time, it was the community, because we did leave Dayton Street. We went down south, you know what I mean? But we still was on Avon, Pishon, and stuff like that. And then we went back down to Dayton Street. So that was still familiar to me, even though we bounced real quick in a short amount of time. But just going back to Dayton Street, it was still a happy place for me, because it was like I'm back around my family, back around my friends. And then once we just uprooted, and you know, mommy, Aunt Terry, we came to Prince Street. So we got there, but now we get there, it's still a new place, it's a new territory. So therefore the community, I felt like was gone. So it's like starting all over again. So it was a little shock, you know what I'm saying, to get used to that environment. It took a little time, you know what I'm saying, because I could remember you were still going back and forth to Dayton Street, and I wasn't really going nowhere with you, so I was kind of stuck in that environment, and I had to, you know, kind of navigate my way through meeting those guys, you know what I'm saying, because I can remember coming upon the first guy I met was Pete Rock, you know what I'm saying. So, you know, back then, you know, Pete Rock was a little chubby, you know what I mean, had the little smile, but he always smiled. Every time you see him, even to this day, that's one thing I still love about Rock, man. He always got a smile on his face. It seemed like no matter what things he's facing or whether life throws at him, he still got a smile. And that's one of the qualities that I love about my dude. But, you know, so like I said, it was him. And then he kind of like, you know, he just introduced me to the guys. Like, you know what I mean? I met a couple of guys through him. You know what I mean? I met the Martins. I met, you know, that's Fred, that's Kev. You know what I'm saying? I met, R.I.P. my man Mod D, Samad, you know what I mean? I met Samad, I met Leroy. Leroy, good brother, good friend still to this day. He reached me at time to time, me and him still talk. Who else I met? You know, I just met, you know, a couple of people like that. So, but like you said, I started noticing, you know what I'm saying, the cracks too with the family shit. Because by that time, I started noticing the drug use, you know what I mean, with mommy and daddy. Like it wasn't really there for me when we was younger. We still was running. But at this time, you know, I'm around like, you know, 10, about 11 years old at that time. Now it's being recognized because, like you said, we had that community. We had like the free lunch. When we went hungry, we didn't understand. Like I didn't understand about the embarrassment of free lunch until I pretty much got on Prince Street, because Dayton Street, it ain't feel like that. You know what I mean? We went out, we ate together as a community with that. Everybody was at the rec. But when I got on Prince Street, it was kind of like, almost shunned upon, like, yo, and then that comes with that embarrassment, because everybody, you know what I mean, who you're around, if they acting like there's something wrong with it, you take that on too. You kind of be like, oh, well, that peer pressure. So, but that got me to notice that the refrigerator was empty a lot in our apartment. So it's like, you know what I mean, now you start wondering, like you go to your friends' houses, the people I met, I go to their houses, you know, they eat in food, and I'm wondering, like, why is never nothing in here? So that gets you to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? So when I started paying attention, that's when I realized the drug use. You know what I mean? They staying in the bathroom all the time, or, you know, stuff like that. Like, what is going on? What is they doing? Now you start to look, and start to find out. And now when I found it out in my own house, that made me look outside the house. That's when I started noticing my cousins, my aunts, everybody doing it. So that's when I started recognizing the cracks. And from there, for me, you know what I'm saying, you get to the point that you get tired of being hungry. So it's these choices you got to make when you got to put yourself out there, and you got to grow up fast. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, you know, I got little sisters. You know what I mean? Like I said again, during this time, you was really in the streets, you know, with the stolen cars and stuff like that, with our cousin Daki, Derek Powell, and you know, Rail, you know, Craze, Joseph. You know, then about this time, you probably was around Mookie and all them, so y'all was really heavy into stolen cars, and then that whole scene, like y'all went on Irvin Turner. So that's when I kind of remember through you when you kind of stepped away a little bit from the car thief thing, and I started seeing you doing the drug selling thing. So for that part, like if you can give me a little bit on that, because I remember that's when you was up on Irvin Turner, because I used to try to come up there and see you. Go a little bit into that part. Like tell me a little bit about the experience when you started, you know, getting into the drug scene.
Oh yeah, that was it too. That right there, that helped me to understand too, because now when we start hustling, I start seeing like you know, family members and stuff, and I start connecting the etiquette.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even though I seen Daddy's etiquette different, and I could identify it, but this was my idol, so I kind of like turned it off until I actually seen it.
Yeah.
Him actually getting high. Then that was like done. It was like, what can I do? I was like, there was no way nobody could tell me to come in the house now.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because doing it, but you're doing it the worst way. You know what I mean? Because you know we looked at the pond, we looked down on people that use the drugs when I started hustling. Yeah. It wasn't a disease. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't so-called like a disability because they mentally connected to it, so it disabled them to do other things. It was looked upon as like, yo, you a piece of crap. Like if you use drugs, you know what I mean? Not understanding like you said, these people that had their personal trauma, the things that they was going through, and this is what they thought they could utilize to help medicate them through it. Yeah. So now I start seeing that stuff, and I'm like, hold on, like what is this? So now again, I'm thinking like you thinking. I'm like, man, we gotta figure this out. So now Mookie introduced me to the hustle. At that time it was the crack gang. We were selling crack. So now I'm trying to get my foot wet in it. I'm in it. We working, but at the same time, we young, so we don't really know what to do with the money. We making money hand over fist at night, but we just blowing it on dumb stuff like clothes, stupid jewelry. I remember I had bought some gold grill or whatever, and the other side of the block was talking crazy about it. So I take my grill out, stomp it, smash it on the ground, go downtown, buy another grill. This is the stupidity we doing. We're not even thinking about food, refrigerator, and stuff like that. Only once in a while that might pop in the head. We more so into clean white T-shirts, hard Levi's. You know what I mean? This is just before Air Force Ones come out. So we into that stuff. But at the same time, everything else around us, like you said, the brothers, the sisters and stuff, the mothers, they still going through what they going through, right? So I still ain't seeing it with Mommy. I really didn't know nothing about Mommy at all. Not even when I got locked up. It took years. Mommy, she always was in the house. But like I said, Daddy, then I started noticing our cousins, like, man, like all these people that I'm looking up to, they falling off, in my opinion, for being idols. Like, I'm like, ow. And so now I'm sort of like kind of losing respect for people now. I'm like, damn, so, and not losing respect for that, I lost respect for community. So if I lost respect for them, I lost respect for community. Guess what else? I lost respect for family. I lost respect for self. So I'm just out here, aimless. Like I told you before, it was more so like a suicide mission. I'm not even thinking. I'm just like, whatever I feel like doing, today I'm doing. If it's sell drugs, it's sell drugs. If it's fill a car, do a robbery, whatever I'm doing today. I'm just outside. I mean, at that point in time now, I dropped out of school. I'm like, the hell with school. Nobody, Mommy at first was chasing me, but Daddy's so far gone that he's not even chasing me, so nobody even cares that I dropped out of school. Because again, Mommy has to deal with the rest of y'all and deal with Daddy, so she can't even do it. And then like Daddy's dealing with his own demons, and then at that point, you know, I get arrested, I get locked up, I end up going to jail, going out Skillman for a year. That leaves you out there again.
Yeah.
Now you got to deal with it. And then, like you said, you got sisters. So at this particular time, you really exposed. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even got no phone. I'm not even really calling home. So I don't really know what you're going through. So until we like had these conversations now, then you explain it to me. I'm like, damn, because when you in it, you don't see when nobody else goes through it.
Yeah.
So when you start sharing with me, even when I was down, when I got adult and went down later on, and you saying you sharing experiences, like I never knew none of these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I guess like we both thought of doing a podcast, because these conversations, experiences for each other, neither one of us knew, because once we got away from the community aspect of it, there was no more conversations about what you're going through and what you're trying to do and none of that stuff.
That's what survival. That's when survival had to kick in, because when because I can remember. I remember when you had got locked up. You know what I'm saying? And you was down Skillman, all them places you was at. Like I ain't really know where you was at sometimes. Like you know what I'm saying? So it just to be a word of mouth of somebody telling me something, because like you said, mommy didn't have that stability to tell us anything. Like she used to be like, oh, we gonna go visit your brother and stuff like that. That ain't even exist, because like you said, we all in survival mode, and then mommy and daddy they dealing with their addictions, so they ain't in the right state of mind. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, it was like more so I had to make the unconscious decision. You know what I'm saying? To go ahead and because I think I can remember that Nyanka, like I said, I was out there with Nyanka and Taryn, our sisters and stuff. So, you know what I mean? And I can remember at one time, like it was just got to the point I was tired of not eating, because I used to go to my friend's house. Like this how I became knowing a lot of them, because I started really hanging around them because of the food situation. Like you go to their house, their mother got food, cooking food. So that was my way of navigating through that as a kid, trying to stop from being hungry. You know what I'm saying? Then you get tired of that, you know what I mean? And I just made the decision to be like, what could I do? And I seen, people out there hustling, and I went into that aspect, like through my man Mike Stretch. Mike used to live on the 12th floor. He kind of helped me out in that situation, like, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I stepped my foot into, hustling, because I was tired of being hungry. You know what I mean? So
I liked it how you used the word unconscious. What made you say that, like, to define it that way?
Because it was like, yeah. Oh no, go ahead, bro. Part yourself. Go ahead, do what you do.
You had said, you made an unconscious decision. That's what I want to get a little clarity on that, so people could use that, because that's very relevant.
Yeah, because for me, I didn't know that. Like I said, it's things that I realized about my past when I got older. So that's kind of where I knew that was unconscious for me, because like I said, I wasn't thinking. Like I was just in survival mode. Like you said, it taps back until you say we don't even realize that we on a suicide mission sometimes. Like we just out there living day by day. You know what I mean? And that kind of go into that for me. That's why I kind of brought that up the way I said it that way, because it was unconscious. Like I wasn't thinking, like, you know what I mean? So
like you said, we just putting our life on the lines. Like you said about us stealing cars.
Yeah.
Like these are vehicles that weigh hundreds of pounds, and we barely weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
maybe 130, 155, and we putting ourselves behind these things, and we trying to control them and doing the stuff that we was doing. So you have to look at it like that. Then at this particular time, I started smoking weed probably about like, I'm gonna say like 10 at 9. Joe would be more onto that, because he the one who found it. You know what I mean? We found it in an apartment that our cousins had. They had a little clubhouse down the Dayton Street, and we started smoking weed. So now at this point at Dayton Street, when we moved to Prince Street, I'm full-fledged smoke weed every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we got that intoxication within us, and a little bit of alcohol drinking at the same time, and then we doing all this stuff, making these decisions out of an intoxicated mind. Come on. It's nothing more than to say that you was basically on a suicide mission, but again, unconscious to it. Because you kept putting our life at risk at every step and stage of it. But at the same time, that's because the people around us never showed us how to value it. Yeah. We never, like when we were talking about this before, like, we don't even remember what we wanted to be when we grew up. That thing took a back burner. Because again, we in survival mode. What I want to be when I grow up. What I'm gonna do right now. I cannot grow up, because I ain't got the basic necessities to even grow up, to live comfortable life. You know what I mean? these decisions we making now, we have to make because, like you said, the adults in our lives, they under some type of strange thing in life that's taking them out of the situations where they should be making these decisions for us. Like we can't even identify it now. We don't understand what it is. Society ain't told us what it is because society at this particular time they're shunning it. You know, Reagan with that just say no. That's all they saying, and that's not even for our community. They're just saying just no. They just locking people up 100 miles per hour in our community. There's really no therapeutic resources out there for them. So if they don't know it, we definitely don't know what's going on. We just know some strange shit is happening right now. You know what I'm saying? Some strange stuff is happening right now, and then we trying to figure it out. And we still trying to watch and learn from different people in our environment. And the sad thing is that the people in our environment are people that are committing what society determines as crimes, right?
Yeah.
But it's feeding them. You know what I mean? Some people in these scenarios, like you said, some people, they're coming out and they got the better food in their house. They got the better sneakers. They got furniture. I remember when we first moved over there, right? I don't know if you remember. We did a B&E playing around looking for games, and I stole the lady whole living room set, put it in our house. And they came right knocking on our door and got all of it right back. We ain't had no furniture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had no furniture. They came and got all that. Mommy was so mad. She thought she came up. But that was my contribution because we didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. I mean, you know what? This would look good in our house. We need this. We ain't got it. Boom, boom, boom. So, and again, Daddy was living.
Yeah.
He was living then. He wasn't going. And this is something two people in our household as adults could not provide because of their abuse. And Mommy more so her abuse was dealing with Daddy's. At that time she was just drinking. She was just trying to get through what Daddy was putting her through. You know what I mean? Him being a heroin addict.
Yeah.
So now I'm up there and I'm trying to figure this out and trying to figure out but my first real introduction was Daddy and Mommy had got into an argument one night and he left, right?
Yeah.
And so Mommy told me to go see him and go get some money so he could feed us.
Yeah.
So I go down there, we down Dayton Street. I go down there, he got all these drugs on the bed. It's all this stuff, whatever, they probably bagging up to the robbery. I don't know what they was doing, but I seen it. And he gave me $10. He was like, "Hun, tell your mother take this." He gave me $10. And I'm looking at this $10 is 4 of us that Mommy got to feed, not even counting herself. Yeah. And you got all the stuff on the bed. I'm like, what the hell are we going to do? Literally, I'm like, what we going to do with this? He looked at me like, what the fuck you say? I said, what are we going to? And from that point, he jumped over the bed, you know, he put his hands on me or whatever. Another sister that was there, somebody like my god sister, one of my god sisters or godmothers was there. I think Harry or Zena Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, I said Bay, my bad. Zena Hooker got him off of me, right? And from that point, he gave me like 3 or 4 vials of coke and said, "You know what this is?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He like, "Well, you give your mother the $10 to feed y'all this week, and then you take this and you get rid of it, and you give your mother that money." That was like my real first introduction. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, it was like if I got that from my father, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So now I'm full-fledged in it. And now at the same time, I don't know if you recall, I'm trying to keep you from in it.
Yeah.
I'm teasing you, trying to keep you away. And then when I start hustling or whatever, I'm giving stuff to everybody except for you. I'm like, nah, bro, you can't do this. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You ain't, man, fuck that. You in high school. Like, I got to get clothes. I got to get this. And it ain't clicking until like probably like 6 months after I came home from Skillman. Like, yeah, what am I doing? I can't stop it because I ain't got enough to provide for him.
Yeah.
And then we got 2 sisters. I can't stop his interest into this. Like, there's no other way. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't even know, like, people think like when I was running around out there that I was solely just in the streets. Nah, I tried to get a job when I came home from Skillman. Nah, it did not work. They tell me I come back. Come back? Man, I got pressing issues.
Yeah.
They tell me I come back after the summer. What? 90 days in the projects?
Yeah.
What? Nah, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I tried to get a job in Dr. G's, and I tried to get a job. I can't remember where I was, and I was trying to go to IYO, which told me on Clinton Avenue. I mean, it was that 12th Street. They told me I'd come back in January. January?
Yeah.
It is May. What the hell am I going to do in between all this time? You know what I'm saying? So, full flash to the block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just with us, it's many of us that we grew up was in that situation that had to do it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was brothers like OD who tried to get me to understand like the saving of it, because messing with my little crew, we just going downtown every week, just spinning. So OD was like, nah, bro, you got to do it like this, you got to do it like that, and you got to take care of this right here and this and that. That was the first person that made me understand what to do with money.
Yeah.
But before that, it was just like, like again, we just out here. It's no aim, there's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just out here. Nobody concerned with me being out here, so I'm just out here.
Yeah. That's how it pretty much was for me. Like I said, it goes back into me having to go out there and get some money for us to eat. You know what I'm saying? And then once I got a hold of something, you know what I'm saying, which took me down to the second floor, Shirley, that's my man's and her moms, you know what I mean, Sweets, Reek, and them moms. I wound up getting something from her, you know what I'm saying, and I just sat out there like, what I do with this? Like, just go stand out there, you know what I'm saying, not knowing, like, just throwing it to the woods, and then it was like, just staying there. They gonna come to you, and that's how I was. So once it went fast and just able me to have a couple of dollars to be like, what, I went to the Chinese store and was able to get my sisters and them something to eat. You know what I'm saying? Me and my sister and them something to eat. That just felt a sign of relief. Like, wow, so I can get out here. I can do this. Not thinking about all other stuff coming. Not thinking about all other elements like locked up, robbery, death. Not thinking about nothing. All I know is it was a problem and I created a solution. Like, if I get this, I can go get rid of it and I can feed my sisters and me and get me some clothes. Start to look better out here. Stop feeling embarrassed that I ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, it was on. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let me do what I need to do every day. And that became an everyday thing for years. Like, years it became an everyday thing. But through all that is like, you know what I mean? That's what now I recognize certain things that I was doing back then and I was involved in was unrecognizable trauma, because I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And like you said, to go tap back into our family, because now when you got this in your hand, it becomes, it's alarming. It's just alarming because now family coming to you. Now they don't even care. They're not recognizing I'm their little cousin, I'm their nephew. They don't recognize that. They recognize what you got on you.
Mad.
You know what I mean? They want to get what you got in your possession. They don't see you as a kid anymore. So how do I think I'm still a child if my own family don't even look at me like a kid anymore? You know what I'm saying? So that those things just disappear, because now I'm forced to feel like I'm a man, and I'm not. You know what I'm saying? But they not even looking. They not caring, because they not even telling me. Nobody came to me and my family and took it out my hand and said, "Take your butt to school. What are you doing? Don't do it." It was like, it was more of like, "What you got? What you got?" It was kind of like treating me like every other person out there that they might try to rob from, a scam from, to get high. You know what I'm saying? They treated me like that, and and at that point, it's, you have no feelings no more, because that's how I felt. Like, and for me, that's how, like you said, our cousins and them, they looked like heroes, and for me, I started losing that for them. Not far as respect. I still respect my cousins and all of them to this day, but it was more like losing hope, like losing the ability to rely on them. That's what I lost. I lost that part right there. But I can't rely on them for nothing no more. But I still respected them, and I very much still love them to this day. But you know what I mean? That's what I dealt with at that time. You know what I'm saying? And
do you remember when you first went to the youth house?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You remember what you went to the youth house for?
That's the whole thing. I can't. That you say that, I can't even remember. What did I actually went to youth house for? I don't even remember. Tell me. I just bring it back. I'm like, what I go for?
I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you. Well, when y'all went down on Court Street, you don't remember that? You, but alcohol moved down there.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had the apartment, so talking to me and my Cody that I have on this, and y'all telling us about how the situation is.
Yeah.
Like, yo, we got this, the building is that, the building is that. So I'm like, all right, so come down there, pay a visit. Think at the time we was doing both. We was selling both coke and dope at the time.
Okay.
So you like, you know, give me the coke, and I'm go down there, this and that, see alcohol and whoever else. I think it may be Maniac, brother.
Yeah.
So Rock might have been with y'all too. I'm not sure. So I'm like, all right, cool. Boom. What else you need? Boom. They got need some guns. So at the time we didn't have the we had them, but I didn't want to give it. I was like, man, y'all ain't gonna never use this. So gave y'all a bunch of sawed-off shotguns.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes. We had just sawed them off, like, and didn't even notice. Just sawed them off like 2-3 weeks later. But I didn't want to give y'all no real. So I'm like, man, I'm not giving no real stuff because I don't want them to, you know what I mean, hit that to y'all. Then I come down and I see y'all.
Yeah.
And y'all all in the house, but y'all told us y'all was gonna be in the hallway. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You don't allow them to connect y'all to the house. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And then the lady, somebody that came to the door to buy something, and y'all didn't give it to her, or wanted consignment, and she called the police on y'all.
Yeah. Yep. I remember getting set up. Yep.
And you got caught in a raid with all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you found out then it was a federal offense to saw off shotguns. Remember that? Y'all was all in the youth house.
I remember that.
Calling.
I remember that.
And I'm like, bro, I think I'm about to come in and tell him it's mine, take the case. You know what I mean? You, alcohol, and all y'all. Yeah. So at that age, that was like 14.
Yep.
So how would you not be operating as an adult? You then got adult charges.
Yeah.
They didn't charge you with it, but, you know, y'all end up getting class B. Now, at that time, that's when I knew that you were paying attention. You were really paying attention because you came with a strategy. You came with a plan. You ain't just, my protection of trying to keep you from hustling was completely done now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now you like, listen, we got a building. So you got a mailbox. We'll keep stuff in the mailbox. The door got a lock on it. Boom, boom, boom. So it was like you had a business proposal.
Yeah.
So when I came down there and I seen it, I'm like, holy shit. It reminded me of when we was on River Turner. You had the building, it had a locked door, but I was like, yo, remember, you got 22 Franklin down the street from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we good. So now, after a while, y'all up and y'all running, you know what I mean? Y'all doing good. So now, again, this is you at 14.
Yeah.
So now, I goes down there a week or two later, I just walked down there, you know, surprise y'all, see what's going on. Remember, we sitting all at the table, we talking, rolling blunts or whatever, smoking.
Yeah.
And then somebody knocked on the door. The lady knocked on the door. And I'm like, who the hell is that? It was like somebody y'all had gave consignment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then y'all didn't give her nothing until to get out of here. And I'm like, yo, bro, you cannot do that. Y'all allowed her to connect the house to y'all, to the work, to everything. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as consignment. If you get something to somebody that smoked, you just gave it to them because it's going to take you through it. You're going to go through it with it. So I'm like, y'all sitting there, but and then y'all told me y'all was going to be downstairs. You know what I'm saying? But y'all upstairs in the apartment, nobody's downstairs. What's the point of the building? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, because y'all got relaxed or whatever, and then you told me, no, the stuff y'all showed me the stuff was in the drop ceiling. That ain't gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
And when I walked out the building, I never seen the lady, but when I walked out the building through my peripheral, I seen somebody on the phone. And it just stood out to me that it was weird. But I was high because we just got finished smoking. I walked up the hill.
Yeah.
And later on that day was getting the call. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Man. You know what I mean?
And that's crazy because now that you say that, I do remember because the arresting officer that I do remember that stuck out to me was Burchak. Like, and the only reason I knew Burchak, and the only reason I knew Burchak because, you know, he was one of my friends, his stepdad at the time. So I recognized exactly who it was. So, yeah, that was the first time. That wasn't the first time that I've been to the youth house, but that was the first time for something kind of big like that because it got a little cloudy for me. I remember I went to the youth house for something before that, but I cannot remember because I was like the first one out of my little crew that went because everybody was like waiting for me to go home. I only did like a couple of days because that's when I met our cousin and their daddy's family, Chisholm, I forget his name. He was an officer in the youth house. And that was the really first time, but it was something so petty. I can't remember what I got locked up for, but it was like a couple of days I was in there and I came home but that incident right there, you absolutely right. That was like, you know what I mean? Cause we was just, cause I remember how it was. Cause when they came in, right, we had one of the pistols It was one of the sawed-offs. So
Yeah.
we slid it under the bed thinking we was slick. We slid it under the bed because they didn't get no drugs. They didn't get no drugs, but the bed we slid it under, it was like a tall bed. Like you could be standing and look right directly up under it. So
Wow.
when they was done really searching, they was like on their way out and they kind of like looked back. One of the officers was like, is that a gun right under the bed? Like, you know what I'm saying? And we sitting there looking dumb. They just pulled the joint from up under the bed. And that's pretty much how that happened right there. How they just got all of us and we wound up. That was that first major time I went into that youth house. That's what happened with that right there. You know what I'm saying? Yep.
Yeah. We had it was so crazy about the situation about how that cop was so towards like the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, he used to be on us, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why, I mean, on Urban Turner, he was a big name over there when we was hustling over there later on. But really, he used to be on us, and it took me a minute to gather. It's because of Rel, right? You know, Rel was always taller than all that, so everybody always focused on about our cool Rel. But for him, I think later on, his brother or something and Rel mom was in a relationship, so he knew Rel from that. So that made him draw extra attention to us. And then in connection with the kids that we went to school with, that made him draw extra attention to us. Because I remember one time he had hit the house, and he took anything that we had out of there. You know what I mean? Back in our stolen car days, we had rims, metal detectors, and everything. He ain't locked none of us up. But he took all of it and got rid of it. It was because of Rail. Like, man, what is they doing? Tell them, da-da-da-da. Leave that stuff alone, da-da-da-da. He came with that type of message. That was then. Then later on, you know, he got a little bit more aggressive because we were. But, you know what's so weird about this whole thing is because we were so young. This was you at 14. So, 2 years earlier, you know, same thing about 14, 15, 13. These are like our first interactions with police, right? And in the atmosphere, how police are acting now, right?
Yeah.
Opposed to the the killing of black men, but these interactions that they're having, this overly aggressiveness, like we been experiencing them with every interaction we ever had with police.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like weird though. Like, all right, everybody is shocked at it, and we like grew up like wearing it as a badge of honor because that's the way we was programmed. Like, you went through it, you got arrested by the police. They didn't care how. I mean, some of these police would put their hands on us like we was grown men.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing was to come out of that and come back and not have shared any information with them, even just to have that experience, because now you get a notch on your belt in the hood because you went through that experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the police like automatically expected you to accept it, even if this is your first time being exposed to this interaction. Like, this is a part of this game. Like, we catch y'all, we beat the shit out y'all. Now, I mean, sometimes they used to just like drop some people in different neighborhoods at the in the 80s when the project beefing and stuff. And they would be like, yo, they from over here.
Yep.
Like, man, it was just so crazy. Like, so I think we should have a whole discussion about that too as well. Like, when we really get this thing up and going, where people could get, talk about their experiences, provide information. Anybody, you know what I mean? Not just the people that we mentioned, like we grew up with, but anybody. Like, your first experience and interaction with the police. Like,
yeah.
I can remember. Yeah, what you about to say?
Yeah, because that I agree with that, because I said I wanted to do one about being arrested. You know what I'm saying? Just going through that whole thing like that, going to the precinct, all that sitting in there. Yeah, we definitely got to talk about that. But let me ask you something, right? Let's go back to when you wound up getting your charge, getting arrested and stuff like that, when you got caught up in your situation and then you was removed from our family life. Let's kind of dive into that so I can talk about more about what was going on with me when you was locked up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, but I'm trying to be, as lenient as careful as having, not be subjective,
Yeah.
Anyway, it was like, basically the same thing. We what we was doing. We was out there hustling, getting money. We had a rival with another group, right?
Yeah. So
the rival was over the building, 260 and 85. It wasn't really over 260, 85. The thing was, y'all left. Why y'all coming back? You know how that go. If you come back now, we done established something, and we done picked up in sales or whatever. So let's say we done went from 3,000, now we getting 6, 7, 8,000 more because y'all left.
Yeah.
Now y'all want to come back, but in that time frame when y'all left, we done expanded. So now that money is still being broken down, but it's being broken down with our family.
Yeah.
The people that we deal with, like when you, Malik, and all y'all start coming into the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was only possible because that building shut down, right?
Yeah.
So now, we had that whole thing. We had the whole 80, 85, 83 to 82, 60 shut down. And then you had, peace be upon him, Malik Flint, he was gone. So we literally got the whole area, right?
Yep.
So now it's about minimizing competition. Now you got guys coming out of pen. Guys that, being at you like 14, 15, I'm 15, you 14, I'm 15, everybody else around us, none of us is in our team, out of our teams other than my Cody and his men.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now what happens is we got to control of this area. But these guys coming out the pen that did 5, 16 years, they don't got no respect for us because we're little kids. Right? So they think they can just set up. And that's not how the game goes. So that's what it was. Y'all cannot set up out here. So it came from a rival, my actual case. So one of the guys that was our rivals, he had someone that was hustling for him in the area doing his little thing, hustling.
Yeah.
So, my Cody and one of my best friends at the time, peace be upon him, Mookie.
Yeah.
Mookie at the house, he's staying with us. Cody comes, he say, yo, bro, they gonna put somebody in the hallway. So, all right, what's good? We're gonna go get him out the hallway. All right, let's go get him out the hallway. But the whole thing was an intimidation strategy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting up, it's like 11:30, 10 o'clock, something in the morning. So I'm getting in the shower. Mind you, we had just gotten into an altercation like the night or two before. I'm going to bring you back to that. Right?
Yeah.
Remember when we was at the L? And
Yep.
all that stuff happened at the L?
Yep, I remember.
That's when you was driving on the wrong side of the street. It was
Yeah.
funny as hell. So now, again, ain't going to cut no corners. We got into a shootout.
Yeah.
Now, that's over with. Right? We have absolutely no guns, no bullets. I'm assuming that. So
Yeah.
even with assuming that, I checked the gun, no bullets. The whole thing is though, is to intimidate them, get them out the hallway. It's not the end result.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, we goes up there, boom, throw it down, boom, yo, bro, you can't be here. Grab him. When I grab the guy, the gun goes off. Boom. He expired. Now, normal shit in the hood, we run, we leave. Boom. I'm in shock. They in shock.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we know what just happened, so we got to deal with that. You know what I mean? So the automatic thing in the hood is get low. There's no discussion. Get low. That's what it is. Yeah. So that's what we do. So now I don't find out till years later. I know something wrong happened, but I don't find out till years later how it happened.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, on the run for like 2-3 months. Not even 2 months. About a month and a half. Get arrested. End up in detention center. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, before I go any further, I don't want people to think that me breezing past the incident is me taking it lightly, like someone lost their life.
Yeah.
But my reason for not getting this detail, again, is because someone lost their life. So that person had family, friends, and stuff that they're connected to. And I don't want them to have to relive that experience.
Absolutely.
It's much. So anyway, I get locked up, right? Get charged with a robbery, aggravated I get charged with aggravated manslaughter, gun possession. Go to the youth house, just me. Cody ain't get caught, and the other guy, Jamal Mookie, he didn't get arrested. So, we don't know nothing yet. I just know that I'm arrested. So I'm in the youth house, about like 2-3 months. Some statements come down. 2 guys that work in the area seen it happen, so they identified me and my Cody, but they didn't identify Mookie. They just know it was a third person. Now, come to find out, my friend, it's still something I can't even deal with right now. In my brain, just thinking about it. My friend put the bullet in the gun, right?
Yeah.
So now, that's what caused the shooting, the accidental shooting. Now, me being there, participating in it, but it's the actual reason. But me being unaware that it was a bullet in there, I think I would have done a little different. But, that's what happened. So now I get waived up because I was a juvenile at the time, like 16. I get transferred to adult court. Now, in adult court, the charges change. It goes from aggravated manslaughter, gun possession, to a murder, a first-degree robbery, a conspiracy to commit a robbery, and then a felony murder. So I'm like, what the hell? Where did all this come from? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what happens is I go to trial for that, whatever. I get a hung jury. They can't find me guilty of it. We had the two guys that were working in the area. They came testified. Then you had a police officer. We had the precinct in the building. A lieutenant, he testified. I get a hung jury. But at the same time, my code he makes a statement. Now, this is where the robbery and stuff come from. Because he wants to get out of the situation, he adds information to the crime. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now he gets a deal for that. But again, he refused to testify. But anyway, I get a hung jury. So now my original deal was like 30 years. So I'm like, 30 years? I'm 16. Can't see, don't know 30 years. So after that, they give me a new deal for 20 years. To me, it doesn't make no difference. 30, 20, it sounds the same to me. So I refused the deal. I go back to trial. This time, he testifies. I get found guilty, and then they sentence me to 30 to life. And I've been in prison ever since, working, trying to get my appeals and stuff like that. But I didn't go to a youth correction because I had prior records. They sent me directly to training. So I went straight to max security from the door, right? Yeah. At this particular time, in between this time, you do get arrested. So at that time, you're down Jamesburg. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I gets my letter from you. I think he was working somewhere, but like Friendlies or something. And I think you hit me because
I was at Wendy's. It rhymes with Friendlies, but I was at Wendy's. Yep, Wendy's.
Yeah. So you hit me. I think you hit me because this part right here is very important.